What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Father and Sons podcast. I'm your moderator, Jamil Pons. I got my dad with me and my twin brother to the left of me. Like I said, we are Father and Sons podcast, also known as FNS. We got a real good episode coming to y'all today. First, we're going to introduce ourselves. We're going to talk a lot about the Eagles and their season that they had and the year of the black quarterback, which is something that has been talked about recently. So I'll start. Jamil Pons, my dad's oldest son, 5 minutes older than my twin brother. 22, just graduated college in May. I'm a huge sports fan. I love the Eagles and Sixers. Those are my two favorite teams. I love to play basketball. It's definitely my favorite sport. AI is like my hero, and I love watching AI play. We all live in Philly, from Philly, born and raised, and so we got a lot of pride being from the city and living in the city. So it's all good. So I'll let my dad introduce himself. And y'all will find out more about us as we continue to talk and sort of release our personalities.
What up, y'all? Jamal Elliott, as Mel said. I'm the father of 3 boys, twins, and then my youngest son, Sai, is actually behind the camera right now. I'm 45 years old. He throwing shots already. We thought about this great idea. Thought it'd be cool to talk about some of the issues that we share, the things that we talk about together as a family, via text or around the dinner table or as we're watching television. So we're looking forward to this. We're gonna do it, hopefully weekly. We'll see what happens. That's it. So I'll pass it over to the youngest twin.
Yeah, I'm Joel, the middle child, as they say. Technically, I'm the middle child, but we got a lot of good episodes coming. A lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to discuss. Hopefully, our little brother Messiah will join us, and it's just a lot of things that we want to talk about. Whether it's sports, entertainment, social justice, politics, we'll give it all to you. So, with that being said, I guess I'll let Mil start the first topic off, which is the birds, the Eagles.
Yeah. Well, let me first say all of this stuff is we're gonna give y'all what we feel. It's not gonna be a lot of stuff is gonna be opinionated, but also a lot of it is gonna be factually based. We're just gonna give y'all our best take on what we think, and that is the first topic, which is the Eagles. I know a lot of y'all probably saw it on Sunday. The Eagles lost to the Cowboys by a score of 37-10. Ezekiel Elliott ran for 111 yards and a touchdown. Dak threw for a touchdown and ran for one. They forced 4 turnovers, which included 3 fumbles by Carson Wentz and interception. Just an all-around bad day for the Eagles. And there are a lot of questions that people have. This puts the Eagles at 3-4, second place in the division, and the Eagles have a very tough schedule coming up. They play the Bills this Sunday in Buffalo. Next game is against the Bears, which is in Philly. They get a bye week. Then they go up against the reigning champion Patriots, and then the Seattle Seahawks. So a really tough stretch. Next 4 games. It's really going to show whether or not the Eagles have a chance of making the playoffs this year. In terms of the Cowboys, this puts them at sole possession for first place in the NFC East.
Hey, Mel, come on. Let's get to it.
What you mean? I'm trying to tell the facts.
Let's get to it.
Can I tell the facts first?
Let's get to it.
He's saying that this is only a 30-minute.
Yeah, let's get to it. The reality is this. Here's the reality. They stunk. They stunk the last 2 weeks, and we got to talk about why they stunk.
Well, I mean, the clear thing is like our secondary and our defense, and we've been having a lot of people injured, we have a lot of people hurt, and like it just didn't look like they showed up at all. And then with Orlando Scandrick being waived, and then hearing what he had to say, him throwing Malcolm Jenkins under the bus.
But see, we're talking surface stuff, right? That's surface
stuff,
right? Because here's why. you're right, injuries, people not playing well. But I think the bigger issue is how the Eagles have drafted, right?
Yeah.
Or to be more precise and clear, how poorly they've drafted, right? Because if you think about it, right, and I wrote it down. Of course, I'm getting old. I didn't bring it. But what I do know is this: outside of Fletcher Cox and a couple guys that they let get away, right? So Fletcher Cox, Jordan Hicks, who couldn't stay on the field, but he's now I think in Arizona. They signed him to a free agent deal. Michael Kendricks, who I actually thought was a pretty good linebacker, but the Eagles don't value linebackers. He went out to Seattle. I know he got into some trouble off the field, but in terms of the actual play, I thought he was good. And you want to say Jalen Mills, okay, but the last 5 to 7 drafts, the draft picks on the defensive side, especially, but even on the offensive side, that we've come up with, we haven't hit.
Yeah.
We haven't hit, and that's how you replenish. You talk about the Cowboys, as much as we hate them, you look at those linebackers that they had, they were drafted by the Cowboys, and they're going to be staples. The one guy just signed a big contract, I think it's Jalen Adams or Jalen, whatever his name is, and then Leighton, whatever that guy is, he's going to sign a big one. So to me, that's the issue, is our drafts have stunk.
I agree, and like a lot of the questions, the one really present question that has come up a lot is, should the Eagles go get somebody? I mean, we've heard that Jalen Ramsey got traded to the Rams. Who just got traded from the Broncos? Somebody just got traded from I think
Chris Harris.
Chris Harris?
Chris Harris got traded from the Broncos.
You've seen so many people.
Minka Fitzpatrick went from the Dolphins with the Steelers.
You've seen so many people in these trade rumors, and you just waiting for Howie. I mean, Howie has some tricks up his sleeve, like within the last couple of years. Trading for Jay Ajayi was pretty big, helped us win the Super Bowl. But a lot of people are expecting him to make a move. Do you think we should make a move this year to try to go get somebody, or should we just wait? Obviously, like you said, the draft we haven't hit in the past couple of years. So is it something that we should go get somebody and see if that'll help our season out, or should we just play it out, wait to see if we make the playoffs or not, and then build through the draft like we?
What you think, bro?
I mean, yeah, that's kind of a tough situation, especially because we're in the middle, we're almost basically in the middle of the season, week 8, and I think if we were to trade for a safety, cornerback, or a linebacker, depending on who they are, we probably have to give up a pick or two.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what would you give up?
Yeah, but the linebacker is not. I just brought it up in terms of who we've drafted. The Eagles don't value linebackers, so to them you can put anybody. They got. I could probably play linebacker for the Eagles because I think I weigh as much as the guy. Was it Nate Gary or whatever? The 47. Yeah, I can probably. But even if you trade for somebody, who you gonna trade for? All the name guys have gone. Patrick Peterson is still out there, but he's 29, right? You want to, for the Eagles' sake, you got to get younger.
So you would more so want to trade for somebody on the defensive side?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I think but I wouldn't. NFL is not like the NBA. You don't. People wait for the trade deadline and then go get a veteran or somebody whose contract might be expiring or whatnot, who they think. Well, it depends. The NBA is. Is this person gonna put me over the top, or is it a salary dump? That salary is gonna come off my books next year when I try to go sign free agents or whatnot. In this case, generally you don't have a lot of impact players being traded, and I don't see Jalen Ramsey just got traded, but I don't see other impact players out there now. Especially where we need the most help, which is the secondary. I don't know who else is left. Patrick Peterson is the one name. It's some has-beens. The guy from Pittsburgh, I forget his name, Artie something, who was a first-round draft pick, who, hasn't played well in Pittsburgh and fell out of favor, but they just had an injury, so they had to plug him in, so he might not even be available. You had the guy, Lattimore, who just got traded, so I just don't see anything out there for us to go, to go trade for.
You think age got to do with it too? Like the Eagles are one of the oldest teams in the league. Like you got Deshaun Jackson.
But it hasn't really been
I mean, I know
like the older. I mean, all right. So I mean, you got like guys like Jason Peters who've been hurt all the time. Jason Peters should retire in the next year or two.
I agree.
But it's been like Ronald Darby, Sidney Jones. They're not old. They just injured. They just
Right,
injured play.
well, with Ronald Darby, you know, he tore his ACL
Yeah.
last year, and he probably came back too early, you know. And then he has the injuries that are associated, those soft tissue injuries. You know, when you have a knee injury, the knee actually ends up being fine, but it's the soft tissues around it. It's the quad, it's the groins, the hamstrings, it's the calves. Sidney Jones, we should talk about that.
I was gonna bring that up.
They missed on him. Sidney Jones can't play. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And he might have could have played when he was at Washington. I watched tape. He didn't blow me away, but you know, there's a whole lot of experts who thought had he not tore his Achilles at his pro day or whatnot, that he would have been in the first round. So I gotta just go with what they said. But what I see out on the field, I see a guy who can't run, who can't turn and run, who can't cover, who doesn't have instincts, who can't tackle, and frankly, the one thing that he doesn't have that you guys know this, any athlete at any level, I don't care if you're talking about, you know, middle school basketball, football, all the way through the pros, he doesn't have any confidence right now. He has zero confidence, and if you don't have confidence, you can't play the game. I don't care what it is. He probably just need to get out of Philly. Maybe that's what Sidney Jones needs to do. Maybe they just need to release him or see if they can get a 6 or 7 rounder for him, and he get out of Philly and he'd be better. But he stinks. And then you know, the other thing is, you talk about age, so you know that Deshaun, as good as he is, and Deshaun's fast, he tracks the ball as a speedster better than probably most receivers in the NFL in terms of what he does, his skill set. But you also know that he's injury prone. You knew coming in that he wasn't going to play 16 games, right? And to me, if you know that your coach's schemes are predicated on having a deep guy, on having someone stretch the field and take the top off, then you just can't rely on one dude. Like, you know, you look at Kansas City and I look at all these other teams around the league, they got 4 5 guys who can run a 4-3. You know, they got these guys, they just pulling them out the stands. Come on, you can run. And we have one guy who's fast. Then we got a bunch of slow dudes. And then you draft a guy who can't even get on the field. Arcega-Whiteside, what was he, 2nd round draft pick? You draft him, I guess you want him to be outshine number 2. He can't even get on the field. Then you draft another tight end, you know, and then I don't even want to talk about the fact that your running back, the guy's averaging 4.67 yards a carry, and you don't even give him the ball. It's not even about loving Jordan Howard. It's about what my eyes see.
I see it too.
If my eyes see,
every time he was like, why is Jordan Howard not on the field?
Miles Sanders does not hit holes. Miles Sanders is still cutting and stuff. You can't do that in the NFL. Everybody's fast. Everybody's big. You can't do that. What Miles Sanders has shown you, to me, is that he can catch the ball out the backfield. So now design plays, I don't know who he is, but design plays for him to catch the ball in space so he can make plays. Don't try to have him running through the tackle. Like, I don't know, you know, people have talked about Doug being, handicapped because of personnel, but to me it seems like Doug just he's not innovative anymore. I don't know if that, you know, people will try to say it's Frank Reich, it's DeFilippo, I don't know. What I see is an offense that, to me, it's not a lot of logic to it. To me, so Jordan Howard averages whatever, 4 yards a carry, let's say. That means if you give him the ball 3 straight times, he's going to get more than 10 yards to get you a first down. But I remember a series last week, or maybe it was against the Vikings, I don't remember, where they ran the ball 3 straight times and it wasn't Jordan Howard. After he had ran the ball, he had like 10 carries for 50-something yards in the first half, and the whole rest of the game he got 3 carries. And they want to say, oh, it's because we got down. I don't know. Like, I think the guy's outthinking himself. So, and Orlando Scandrick, I don't necessarily believe anything he had to say. I don't necessarily believe that there's a dysfunctional locker room. I just think he's trying to get in, and he's trying to get into being in the media and, you know, whatnot. So, you know, that what you do now is clout chase, and you try to be controversial so that you can get seen.
Yeah, well, he's a former Cowboy. So I honestly wasn't too surprised at like the thing. I wasn't surprised because it's him. I was surprised at, you know, him calling out Malcolm Jenkins, saying, you know, there were accountability issues, because since Malcolm Jenkins has been here, I feel like he's been the leader of that. Not only even the leader of the defense, but the locker room. Like, it seems like he carries himself professionally. Like, you see him, you know, giving back, and he's all about, you know, social justice and for black empowerment. So I was surprised at him calling out Malcolm Jenkins.
Yeah, I agree. So what about the quarterback? So franchise quarterback getting paid buku bucks. Is he that good?
They saying that this week will define.
And forget what they say.
They say that every week. They say that every week.
Forget what they say. What are your opinions?
I still believe
in Carson Wentz 100%. I love Carson Wentz.
I just feel like he gotta get his confidence back. He gotta get his confidence back.
And I feel like there's so much pressure on him. Even like when the defense we've given up 35 plus points the last 2 weeks. People are saying this is Carson Wentz's fault. Carson Wentz can't play cornerback. I'm pretty sure. Like, I mean, I'm sure he wants to get out there and help his team anyway, but he can't play cornerback and go out there on the defense.
Carson Wentz.
I mean, I think
he's missed. Like, don't get me wrong. He hasn't been perfect. He hasn't been 158.
Forget the throws.
he gotta get up there.
We watched the play. I watched the play where a defender came up on what would have been his right hand side, the left hand side of the screen, and he didn't check. A good quarterback, seasoned quarterback, sees that he was free, so you check to that side, you basically throw right behind him. But he didn't, because at the end of the day, it was nothing that the line could do. They couldn't slide to that protection that way because they had more defenders coming than they had blockers. So he has to beat that defender, which means you check to something right over his head or right behind him. So as he comes, you just dump it behind him and you get a gain. Those are the types of plays where I see him lacking. I see him coming up to the line, and I told you guys this. I watch the games, and like, you know, the play clock is always down to 2 and 1 with us, and I'm like, okay, is he checking? Because it doesn't seem like he's checking or changing the plays or sliding the protections or anything. It just seems like he's up there looking. So for me, the jury's still out. Like, I'm not one of these guys who's like Nick Foles. I'm not that guy. But I'm also the guy who's not going to continue to get his guy a pass. Yes, the defense has sucked, right? But the offense hasn't been so great as well. You can blame some of that on the play calling. Yes, Doug gets my ire as well. But you got to blame it on the franchise quarterback as well. Because while Nelson Aguilar stinks, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside stinks, what's the other guy? The guy who said he'd rather play special teams and Mac Hollins stinks, you know. Alshon is out there on one leg, you know. Zach Ertz, I don't know where he's been. He caught 115 balls last year, and he's been invisible this year. He's doing, you know, he's dropping balls. He's also doing things like knowing that you need 7 yards and he's running 6 yards and then thinking he's going to break a tackle. No, how about run 8, 9 yard passes?
No, he's not real good after the catch.
Yeah, he's not a yak guy, but so look, I'm like everybody else. I was drinking the Kool-Aid back in late August when folks were picking the Eagles to win the NFC conference and go to the Super Bowl. I own that. I'm accountable for that. But right now, facts are that the team is flawed. The team lacks a lot in a lot of areas. You know, they got to draft well. You know, I'm already looking for next year. They got to draft well. They got to get young.
Wait, before we get there, do we have a chance? Is there like
it's a 14% of teams that start out 3-4 make the playoffs.
But so Dallas is 4-3. We're 3-4. They're a full game ahead of us, but we still have we have 9 games left in the season. Do you think we can make the playoffs with like everything you said with the injuries and the play calling and the bad secondary, do you think there's still a chance? With, like I said, the upcoming schedule, we got 4 perennial playoff teams.
I think like everything would just have to. It would have to be like a perfect storm. Like we would in the next 4 games, like you said, Bills, Bears, Patriots, Seahawks. We gotta get at least. I feel like we gotta get at least 2, maybe 3, because
I mean, the
Bills
Cowboys
are 5-1. Bills defense is pretty good. Bears defense has always been good. The offense, Mitchell Trubisky. Patriots undefeated, best defense in the league. Seahawks.
Russell Wilson,
6-1 or whatever.
Where are those games?
Bills and
I
Buffalo.
know the Bills are. Wait, what about the other game?
Chicago's in Philly. I think ain't you going there again? I think
Yeah,
Patriots. I think Patriots is home.
And Seahawks. No.
Seahawks is home.
So we got 3 home games and 1 away game. Okay. You said you going to that game?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How'd that happen?
Gianna was one of the
His girlfriend
Oh, his
was
girlfriend
ticket.
was-
My girlfriend booked me tickets. Shout out Gianna. Going to the game November 3rd.
Wow. That's gonna be a little crazy down there. Be careful. We got a bunch of goofies down there, but
Alright, so speaking of, we were just talking about Carson Wentz. Speaking of quarterbacks, it's the year.
It's the year of the black quarterback. So, the Undefeated wrote an article in early September titled "Welcome to the Year of the Black Quarterback."
hold on. What's the undefeated?
Undefeated is a website, sports website.
I mean, people might not know. You gotta explain.
Undefeated is a sports website. I'll put that link in the bio. But had an article about the year of the black quarterback, and it really spoke to the guys who are in this league right now. Patrick Mahomes, black quarterback, MVP. Kyler Murray, #1 overall draft pick, MVP. And you have guys like Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson who either just got a really big contract or are about to get really big contracts, as well as Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Jacoby Brissett's another name,
Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston, guys, black quarterbacks who are really thriving in this league. So it talked about, one, how when the NFL first started, black players weren't even allowed to play the quarterback position because they weren't seen as smart enough, tough enough, or courageous enough to play the position. And now you have guys, black quarterbacks winning MVPs and being the first overall pick. What do you have to?
You see how stupid that is, though. Like, so I get, that historically we weren't viewed as very smart or intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
But from my perspective, we've always been a courageous people. We've always been a tough people. So, for the idiots who, were making decisions about quarterbacks, I mean, the intelligence part is, that's dumb too. So,
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing, right? Racism, institutionalized, systemic racism, existed in across all platforms, right? And it still does. Right now, just is more subtle, and the way they do it is they kind of put it in your face and they make you blind to it, so you kind of accept some of the goofy stuff that they do. In terms of the quarterback, I think the reality is there's always been capable black quarterbacks. Opportunity hasn't been there. But the reality is, I think they're going to continue to come. They're going to continue to be there. The next wave is coming. And shout out to like the pioneers. Shout out to Doug Williams. Shout out to Warren Moon, who had to go to the CFL, then come to the NFL and with the run and shoot and show these dudes that he could, pass the football, and pass the football did he.
Randall Cunningham.
Shout out to Randall, ultimate weapon. The Rodney Peets of the world. All these folk who took their lumps so that the folks you just mentioned, the Kyler Murrays, the Shawns, the Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, all those guys could thrive. Even guys like Cam Newton, who's been in the league now 7-8 years, who's taken a pounding. I think just like in all walks of life, those guys are standing on the backs and the shoulders of the people of the quarterbacks, the black quarterbacks that came before.
Absolutely.
So.
For sure. I was just thinking of Donovan McNabb and Mike Vick. I don't know how many, McNabb jerseys and Vick jerseys you've seen in Philly over the time that they was here in Philly, but, those guys were the ones that kind of stood out, especially in our generation when we were watching them, and now we got the Deshaun Watsons and Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and those guys, and like Dad said, it's just gonna keep coming. And I think you had mentioned before the podcast that the NFL is what 70%.
70% black players. Yeah.
Black players. I mean, it's just gonna keep.
Still no black owners.
Yeah, still no black owners. I mean, maybe not unbelievably, but.
I mean, we could. I know you got topics, Mill, but we could branch off a little bit and go off on a little tangent if we're gonna talk about ownership and talk about Jay-Z and his little foray into the NFL. We could talk about that, but maybe you want to bring that up later.
We're gonna say that for
We say that for later.
We can
Because I got a lot of opinions about that. I got a lot of opinions about that, for sure.
We could definitely talk about that one.
I mean, but look, I'm happy, to see so many black quarterbacks thriving and doing well. I'm happy to see them not just, because it's not about just making it. Like, it's actually to get to the NFL and do well. In fact, there was I listen to sports talk radio, pretty much every morning when I'm on my way to work, and I listen again when I'm on my way home from work, and if I run out for lunch, I listen. And I listen to 97.5. They didn't pay me to say that, but that's who I listen to. What up, 97.5? I fuck with y'all. The reality is this. We talked about, they talked about, there's been sort of a survey or just something thrown out there to say, okay, the current quarterbacks, right? Who would you take over Carson Wentz right now? And actually, I would take 3 or 4 of those black quarterbacks over Carson Wentz right now. I'm taking Patrick Mahomes, that's a no-brainer. I'm taking Russell Wilson, that's a no-brainer. And I'm taking Deshaun Watson. I'm taking all 3 of them over Carson Wentz.
I'm still out on, the jury's still out on Deshaun.
Hell no, I'm taking
Deshaun Watson hasn't really.
Boy,
I'm still out on Deshaun.
You acting like a goof.
He turned the ball over, and he's injury prone.
Not injury prone, what do you mean? He's no more injury prone than Carson Wentz.
Deshaun Watson has a good.
This is more just say Deshaun Watson is injury prone when Carson Wentz played probably less games than him.
You must have played against somebody in fantasy that like Deshaun killed you or something.
Deshaun killed me.
Yeah, that's why. So he's a hater too. He's a hater.
I'm not hating him. I love Deshaun.
You can't sit there and call him. You can't say.
I can say I love him, player.
No,
I'm gonna take him.
No, that's not what I meant. You can't say he's injury prone and not acknowledge that Carson Wentz is injury prone as well.
I completely understand Carson Wentz is injury prone.
So that can't be the reason that you would take him.
I would have to go look up the stats because although it seems like Carson Wentz is like super injury prone, not playing a ton of games, he's actually played in a lot more games than people realize. This is his fourth year?
He played a full year.
He played
his
4
first year.
He played his second year he played
I think he played 12
games.
The games the year we won Super Bowl.
Last year he played what?
7 or 8.
7 or 8. This year he's
played all of them, right? So we'll see. Knock on wood, he don't get injured tomorrow.
I love Deshaun. Great passer, mobile, great leader.
Right, so I would take those 3. Not quite there yet with Lamar Jackson, but he could be on the horizon. If he continue to have the year he's having, you ask me in August, I might be like, yeah, give me Lamar Jackson too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, it is what it is. Like, it ain't no knock on Carson. It's just, but again, shout out to the fact that, there are black quarterbacks advancing the position. I mean, Lamar Jackson looks like he is shot out of a cannon. Like I've seen clips of Mike Vick. I mean, you saw Mike Vick play as well, but last week who they playing? The Seahawks. Man, Lamar Jackson took off on this one play. It was unfair how much faster he was than everybody else on the field. And I mean, to see like Bobby Wagner is like one of the top 3-4 linebackers in the NFL, and he made him look stupid on one play. So.
Lamar, I think it'd be like every game, every second, the box score for the Ravens game, it'd be like Lamar Jackson leading in passing and rushing. He'd be having like 10 rushing attempts, 120 yards.
Yeah, I think
300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. So
I think last week he took it upon himself. I think I read something where he said, "I'm gonna go try to win this game," because they were struggling a little bit. So I remember he said that in something I read.
All right, this is part 2, Father and Sons podcast, with a new addition. To my right is my younger brother.
Our younger brother.
Our younger brother, sorry, my fault. I got my 2 younger brothers here. And our dad's youngest son, Masai. You can introduce yourself.
Alright, what's up, y'all? I'm Masai. I go to Friend Select School. I'm an 11th grader. I want to major in digital arts, or more specifically, photography and videography.
Good stuff.
Interesting.
So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is a decision that my wife Monique and I made to send all 3 of these guys to private high schools, private Quaker high schools to be more specific. Growing up, I was fortunate enough to go to a private Quaker high school called the George School, and that experience was really, I would say, life-changing for me. And I think it helped me grow in ways that I think going to public school and living at home wouldn't have. And so, as they were, initially twins as they were growing up, and then when Messiah came along, Monique and I decided, we wanted them to have a similar experience. And folks often ask me, why did you do it? One of the big reasons, could be seen as controversial, but I consider myself a controversial person, so I can give 2 shits about what people think. I wanted my sons to go to predominantly white schools so that they could chart their own course and they could know how to deal and manage and handle themselves in a white world. Without me there every day, I could guide from afar. I could give advice and support, but I wanted them to be able to live in that world, because we live in that world, and they are young black men, and they are going to have to deal with it. So why not get practice at an early age, so that when they become grown-ups, and the twins are now grown-ups, it will be that much easier. So with that said, I kind of gave you some background. I'm going to give them the space to talk to you about their experiences, and if the decision that their mother and I made was a good decision.
Yeah, and I think our experiences it was different from yours in a couple ways, and with time and generation, and because you went to a boarding school, and so it probably was a whole lot different, being out in Bucks County, and you're having a roommate and stuff, than being in Nicetown in North Philly. And with us, with me and Bill we went to the Germantown Friends School in Germantown, and it definitely was a great experience, and I wouldn't have changed anything about it. And the thing about private schools, it can be a financial burden in some cases. They offer financial aid, and luckily we had a pretty good financial aid package for the both of us, which allowed us to attend together. And just being in a completely different environment where the expectations are so much higher as students, they expect you to excel at every level in English and science and math, and you get all of those sorts of classes, and you get to pick your classes, and you can even, like, I know at GFS we had a junior project, you can do internships now.
Yeah.
They had January term, you don't even have
like
actual classes.
It was like different. Like we took a basketball.
We took a basketball course. I took like a jazz course where we talked about jazz and hip hop and how they kind of like have a type of connection. So it's a bunch of different things you can do. And being that we went to a private school, now that we work there, you know, it's definitely something that we've enjoyed, and we would definitely recommend it. You know.
Yeah, definitely, you know, recommend. Like my dad said, you know, young black men being in a world, you know, where it's majority white, you know, there's definitely going to be challenges. And I think at first there were some challenges for, you know, I can't speak for Lil, but I mean, we do think alike. I think there were definitely some challenges. For one, the education was just so much more advanced than we even realized at first. Like me and Lil talk about it all the time. The elementary school and middle school that we went to, we're straight A students from 2nd grade to 8th grade. It was like easy.
Yeah.
It like a lot of the times it wasn't like you wouldn't study most nights because you just knew what the material was going to be. Going to GFS, you couldn't slack off. And so, you know, that freshman year, it definitely took a lot for us to get adjusted to the education aspect. And then, in terms of, you know, the people that we were associating with, you know, GFS is predominantly white school, and so we sort of found our way into, you know, the kids who were from similar backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, black kids who were playing basketball, were interested in sports, and, you know, kids who were from our area. And so I think it was pretty easy for us to, you know, find friends who we could associate with and find similarities to. I don't know about what Saab feels like, because, you know, each of the friend schools has different cultures.
Yeah,
Definitely different cultures. But the Quaker aspect, you know, we all are all about like nonviolence and peace and things like that. With, you know, when it's necessary. So Sai, you can speak a little bit about your experience. Sai, you know, you're a junior, still going through high school, a friend select.
Yeah, I know for me personally, kind of like first getting to Friend Select as a freshman, you know, kind of branching there, coming from Wissahickon, which was a really easy school in my opinion. Definitely getting hit with that, like, you know, first month, that workload definitely hit me hard. Like, my grades were just like dropping very like quickly, and it was like drastic, kind of like that change, trying to, you know, get accustomed to what I was doing, what I was learning, kind of like the workload. But, you know, being in that tight-knit community at Friend Select, you know, having these teachers who are willing to stay after school to help you learn and, you know, get better at that subject, and really wanting to like see you succeed and shine is like really important for me, and kind of like my choice of going there. But even going to like a private school like Friend Select, there are going to be its problems and, you know, things that will come with it, and kind of like that whole aspect of it being, most of these schools being predominantly white, having predominantly white teachers. That's another kind of like big thing that I definitely experienced getting there. Kind of like, I know last year happened a lot, having teachers mix up your name with other, you know, black males in your grade, not apologizing and realizing, you know, what they had done, having kids, you know, walk around trying to act like you, walk like you, talk like you, wanting to be exactly like you, having, you know, these white kids saying the N-word all on their Snapchats, you know, having their hair done a certain way so they can also be like you. You know, seeing these things, you walk into these communities and environments thinking, you know, oh, there isn't going to be any racism, any, you know, homophobic, you know, ideas, and, you know, neo-Nazis and all of that other things. But it, like, those things exist in these schools, and it's not hard to really see as soon as you get into the community. There are like a lot of microaggressions that even I kind of like, you know, didn't realize that was happening, but the like more you saw it more often, you know, you start to realize like these things exist, so you have to start bringing them up. And, you know, sometimes even if you do bring them up, most people aren't going to take them as serious as, you know, other situations in these schools. So, you know, it's kind of like there will be its, you know, upsides, but there will also be, you know, its downsides of going to these schools, as well as, you know, being a black male in these communities.
Yeah, I would say that the things that you just spoke of inside are exactly the reasons why I sent you to a place like that, because I want you to experience those things. I want you to see them, to feel them, so that you can be able to know how to deal with them. And the reality is, you know, as great as those places are, and I think they're great places. They have a lot of good. You know, they're just they're microcosms of the larger world. You know, because the world we live in is full of those types of people. And you know, when I say those types of people, I'm talking about people who are racist, prejudiced, you know, homophobic, and the list goes on and on. And so, you know, the reality is we have to find ways to combat it. And I think the way that you deal with those types of things is head on. You deal with them right in their face. You call them out on it. You hold them accountable. You know, I think the biggest, to me, it's offensive and insulting that folks want to be like you, but at the same time, you know, they go home and talk about you. You know, you don't walk around and try to emulate, you know, our culture and our style, and then go home and call us niggas, you know, or go home and talk about, you know, how inferior of a people we are, or go home and talk about, oh, those kids are only there because they're on scholarship or because of affirmative action or some quotas. And these are the types of things that we had to deal with when I was at George School. You know, I never dealt with sort of what I would call overt and direct racism, but we dealt with a whole lot of the subtle stuff. You know, I remember when I was there, the Rodney King verdict had just come down, you know, and we were pissed off, you know, and there were, you know, most of the white folk there that I came across felt like, you know, the police got, you know, the police did what they were supposed to do. They didn't see anything wrong with it. You know, Ray Charles could see that was wrong. I don't care what Rodney King did. You didn't have to do that to that man. So, you know, I think the other reason that, you know, I sent you guys to those places is that, you know, those types of schools, their names ring bells.